Hi GOH, this is Unit 4, Lesson 2, so this is the second day of constructions. Today we're going to construct angles and parallel lines. Angles aren't too bad and the parallel lines are related to it. Parallel lines are a little bit trickier because if you're not exact, then the lines don't come out looking parallel. But again, we're just using a compass, we're just using a straight edge, and I recommend using a pencil and doing this flat on a table or desk, not in a binder. So the first thing you're going to do is, given angle A, shown below, we're going to draw line segments starting at R in any direction. So we're going to take a straight edge and a pencil, and you're going to draw a line segment. That's going to basically what I'm doing in this construction, although it didn't say it. I'm going to copy angle A at angle R. So you start off by drawing the base of the angle. Okay, just like angle A has a bottom and it has a top ray. So I'm drawing the bottom ray on R. Now I know I'm saying ray and a ray has an arrow, but you don't have to draw the arrow. All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my compass on A, the angle that I'm trying to copy, and I'm going to draw an arc. It does not matter how big the radius is of that arc that you're drawing, but it needs to touch the bottom ray of the angle and the top ray of the angle. I'm going to come here to R, where I'm trying to copy the angle, and I'm going to draw the same arc. It's got to touch the bottom, and it's got to be long enough that when I draw the top ray, it will intersect. All right, so just sort of eyeball it. If it was an obtuse angle, I obviously would have to make that longer. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the arc that I drew. I'm going to go to angle A, and I'm going to measure the arc from where it touches the bottom ray of angle A and where it touches the top ray. So again, see how I put one end of my compass where it touches the bottom and one end of my compass where it touches the top. So the directions off to the side are actually saying that I should have labeled those points of intersection, points B and C. I will go back and do that now. So, but I'm measuring from the bottom to the top. They said to measure those 2 points of intersection as point B. So I'll call this B and I'll call this C. And I'll just move those a little bit. So where the ray and where that arc touches the ray and where that arc touches the ray. So I already measured it. I set up my compass. It's perfect. It's measuring from point B to point C. Now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to put my compass where the arc touched the bottom ray, and I'm going to draw my arc. Where that arc touches, that is going to be where I connect that point of intersection to point R over here. Boom. And I use my ruler and I draw another ray. So that angle R is congruent to angle A. Okay, and again, they want me to label these. Normally, we don't need to label these points of intersection, but we're going to talk about them down below, so I will go ahead and I will label them. All right, and I think I did everything that was there. Exercise 2. Now, we're not going to verify using tracing paper. Okay, we're going to cross that off. So these were just the directions for all of that. I am not going to verify using tracing paper, but I am going to give an informal proof for why this construction works. Here's the deal with the proof. AB, okay, is actually the same length as RS because I used a compass and the distance from R to S is the same as the distance from A to B. AC is going to be the same as RT. Again, because the distance from R to T was the same compass setting I used for the distance from A to C. And not that I have a line right here, but if I was to connect C to B, okay, and if I was to connect T to S, all right, I actually have a triangle, and the length of BC is the same exact length as the length of ST, because remember, I used my compass to measure the distance from B to C. And then I used that same distance when I did ST. So since these triangles are congruent by side, 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 then angle A has to be congruent to angle R by CPCTC. So I just wrote a couple of sentences right here. So AB is congruent to RS and AC is congruent to RT since all arcs have the same length of AB. And then that second arc drawn has a length of BC, so BC is congruent to TS. The triangles are congruent by side, side, side. Okay, and then the angles have to be congruent by CPCTC. So I can add that on. Angles are congruent by CPCTC. CPCTC. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay, if you need to pause the video to copy that, you can. What I'm going to do down here is I'm going to create a copy of obtuse angle W. So just to remind you, I start off by drawing the bottom ray of the angle. Okay, I go to the angle that I'm trying to copy, angle W, and I draw an arc. I go, keeping that same radius, I go to the angle where I'm trying to copy it, and I draw an arc. This is an obtuse angle, so I will make sure to make that arc a little bit bigger. Okay, so again, I drew a ray. I draw the bottom ray of the triangle where I'm going to copy it. I go back to the angle that I'm trying to copy, angle W, and I just drew an arc. And then I did that same arc on the angle where I'm trying to copy it. Now what I'm doing right now is I'm putting one end of my compass where the arc intercepts the bottom ray of angle W, and I'm putting the other end of my compass where the arc intercepts the top ray of angle W. I'm measuring the span of that arc because I want to copy that same exact span for the angle that I am trying to create over here. So I'm going to put my compass where the arc touches that bottom ray, and then I'm going to draw my second arc, and that, since it has the same span that W did, the arc on W, this angle will be the same exact angle. And then I'm just going to use my straight edge to connect the point of intersection of those arcs from that end point of the ray. If I took out a protractor and measured them, those would be exactly the same. All right, the last thing I'm going to do on the next page is I am going to draw parallel lines. Okay, so once you can copy an angle, you can also create a line that is parallel to another line passing through a point not on the line. So here's how we do this. I have line M and I have point A. So I'm going to draw a transversal, okay, that goes through A and goes through line M. I always have it slanted this way because I'm right-handed, so it's just easier for me. Now when I draw that transversal, I now have created an angle right here. I'm going to put a little red dot there. I'm going to copy that angle up here. And since the angles will be congruent to each other, the lines have to be parallel because they are corresponding angles. So that's what I'm doing. It's a little bit trickier than the angles that I did before, but it's really the same thing. So I'm trying to copy this angle that I've just created right here. All right, and they actually said to call this to call this point B. So if you're reading along with the directions, I will call this point B. So you have that right there. All right, not that you have to, but I'm going to go to where the angle where B is, and I'm going to draw an arc. That arc could be below point A, it could touch point A, it could go past point A. It does not matter. So I'm trying to copy angle B up here at A. So I went to B and I drew an arc. I'm going to come here to A and draw the same exact arc. Now you want to be as exact as you can, otherwise the lines don't come out looking parallel. So I have that same arc. Now I'm going to go to the angle that I'm trying to copy, this one down here. I'm going to measure the span of the arc. So I put one end of the compass where the arc touches the top ray, and I put one end of the compass where the arc touches the bottom ray. Now I'm going to put my compass where it touches the top ray because that's the ray I have, and I'm going to draw an arc down here on the bottom, and when I connect the intersection with point A, my lines will be parallel. Again, I mentioned that this one is a little tricky because if you are off a smidge, then your lines will not come out looking parallel. Now I'm going to call these angle 1 and angle 2. And again, the reason why the lines are parallel is because I copied angle 1 up here at angle 2, and if those angles are congruent, then the lines have to be parallel because they are corresponding angles. So I've only seen on the Regents once where they actually had you construct the parallel lines, but I've definitely have seen multiple choice questions where the construction's already done and you have to say why they're parallel. All right, so again, I'm not going to use tracing paper to verify. You could take out your protractor to measure them. They will be congruent to each other. And here's like a little explanation as to why the lines are parallel. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 because we copied the angle. If the corresponding angles are congruent, then the two lines must be parallel to each other. Okay, I'll go through one more with you down here, and we won't do both of them because we'll practice this enough tomorrow. But to construct parallel lines, oh, I already have the compass down there, so I don't need another one. So here's how I construct parallel lines. Step 1, you draw a transversal that goes through the point and that goes through the line, one of the parallel lines. That creates an angle. This angle down here, you are now going to copy the angle up at the other point. So I put one end of my compass on the angle and I draw an arc. The arc can be as big or small as you want. It can touch R, it can go, this one went below R, it just doesn't matter. And then I go to R and I draw that same exact arc. Leave that compass the same setting. So I have a matching arc up here. Now if that arc goes above your line, a line is just a line. You can extend that line. But I have two matching arcs. I'm now going to come here and I'm going to measure the span of the arc that I'm trying to copy this angle on. So I put one end of my compass where the arc touches on top, one end of the compass where the arc touches on the bottom. I just left my pencil on the bottom here because I know that's where I need my pencil on the top arc. So again, I'm measuring the span of the arc using my compass. And then I'm going to come up here to the top arc and I'm going to put my compass there. And again, I'm going to draw an intersection. And then where they intersect, I'm going to connect that with R, and those lines will be parallel to each other. Okay, so we'll practice some more angles and some more parallel lines tomorrow.